Alright guys, so the ducks are out for the day, but a few of them aren't. We've got a couple of Muscovy hens that seem to want to go broody. And since the big move's coming, I'm not sure if I want to allow them to go ahead and sit a brood or not, but it might actually be good because when the big move comes, I could leave these two girls over here by themselves and they have a nice peaceful time of brooding. Brooding is a stressful period. There's a couple ways you can tell that they're not just sitting here because they want to lay an egg, but that they're actually going broody. And one is, right there, you can see all that down. When they start pulling down and her whole nest is landed with that down, that means they're not just laying eggs to lay eggs, they're wanting to reproduce. And the other way you can tell, and she might bite me, but it won't hurt. Yep, she's going to bite me. Normally this duck could go crazy if I tried to pet her and run away. But she's holding her ground. And I don't want to upset her, but she would do the same thing. I know, they're peeping at me. They want me to leave them alone. They make a little pip sound, the Muscovies, versus a quack. The females do anyway. So, you know, we got to decide, do we want to tuck some eggs up underneath them from the other girls and let them go ahead and brood out? And maybe we do. It'll be a lot easier than the last group, and you guys probably like to see a whole new clutch of babies come up. This is the project I worked on all day yesterday. I've got water there now. I'll be running a double feed system, one feeder line, back feed irrigation, all the way along this fence. And this whole fence, all the way to the end of the property up to the front, will become a grape trellis this year. And we'll have the irrigation to support that. We'll probably put trees on the western side of it. One irrigation line will do both sides. And you can see we've come in here. That tiller was useless. Absolutely useless in this muddy dirt and this heavy sod. But what I wanted to kind of show you is the effects of our land management principles and our soil management. This dirt here is, well, you barely call it dirt. It's clay. It's got no structure. It's just hard, sticky, gooey, packed gumbo. You can see it. It's like kids' Play-Doh. Back over here, where I ran this line back, because this is going to run two zones of irrigation for this little orchard here. I just have a cap for now. Right here, you can see the difference. This is fill dirt. But this dirt here that I dug up, this dirt's the same dirt you were just looking at. It's just been under mulch for 2 years. That's the only difference, really, is mulch. Same dirt, 10 feet away, beautiful crumbly structure. And the ducks are part of that, but the big thing is the mulch. And all of that sheet mulch there, if I pull that up, it'll look just like that under there. So you can take this really hard, gross looking clay and you can turn it into something pretty amazing in just a few years. Without a lot of inputs. I mean, it's just basically been kept mulched and planted with various cover crops. It's done that. So the trees are starting to show up. Got a Bruce plum there in full bloom. That's an early Alberta peach. And that's a nectarine down there, just starting to break bud. Crab apple at the end, and Granny Smith there. They're just not quite ready to come out yet and play. But everything's starting to come alive. Come over here. Pear's just starting to put on some leaf. Fuji apple back there is just putting on some leaf. This autumn olive is just beautiful, the way this tree is growing. This thing was, last year when I put it in, was about that big. It was a little bitty whipstick. Probably about as big as that right there in my hand. Look at that. That's going to produce for us this year too. Red delicious apple. Cherries are starting to put on some flowers. Even some of my Nanking cherries are putting on some flowers. So I'm thinking about ordering a pile of those. They're cheap right now. And planting them as a shrub layer in a lot of places that I can just tuck them in. Let's go see if we can see what the ducks are up to. I have a feeling I know where they're at. There's one of our ducks. What are you doing without your buddies? We've filled in their slot pond. Dorothy's getting ready to plant some peacock flowers and lilies in that area. That'll be a good place for them. I'll have to put some fencing in to keep them out. Got the pond back in working order. course, the moving water is attracting the ducks. And I have a feeling that it's a good thing I'm here right now. It looks like something horrible's happened. It has. Fortunately, it wasn't that bad, but that overflow pipe they've knocked off. So I'll have to just leave this off until I get some fencing up. Yeah, see, look, this is what's happened now. All that erosion. Well, you see the good and the bad here. And what it is there's a stand-up overflow that brings water from that tank to this tank, and it overflows back down to that tank, and they knocked that stand-up off. So I'll have to fix that in my spare time, I guess. Idiots. Getting ready to plant the gardens, the annual gardens. That's all the annual gardens that we grow right there. But let's head over and see what everybody's up to. A little bit of water left in the swale there for them. As you can see, that's all dried up real quick. Like I said, those just don't become mosquito traps. And most of this water is actually, as I rehab those ponds, I drained about 800 gallons of water into this swale 2 days ago. So that would be completely dry. The mid swale and the bottom swale are both empty now. In just a few days, the water's infiltrated. You can see, I said, I think we can call these the girls now instead of the babies. But this back corner here, they haven't been doing a really good job of working it heavily. There's a lot of overgrowth back here. So I put their water here to get them to work this corner. Seems to be doing the trick. Tomorrow, come over this way and kind of show you the plan going forward. I need irrigation on this swale, and that's going to go in very soon. Teed off of here. But want to get this ground ready to plant a second layer of trees. So there's a layer of trees all on the swale, and we'll come out here with another layer of smaller trees in front. And again, that way is primarily south by southeast, as the swale's oriented. So what we'll do is we'll take their ponds tomorrow and we'll put them right here, you know, and then the next day we'll move them down, and the next day we'll move them down until we get to the end. Probably bring them back around the back side. And by that time, they'll be ready to go over to the west pasture for about 3 to 4 weeks to give all this ground recovery time. But that'll give this like one last infusion of good, high-quality duck poop before we go ahead and get some mulch on it and get this whole bank mulched and cover cropped and ready for spring. Because spring is springing right now all around us. You can see the property starting to look dramatically different. Everything's greening up. Trees are going to bloom. And it's really exciting. Like we said, we think that this is going to be the year where all of this work that we've done up till now really pays off for us. Another peach starting to go to bloom there. Pear's just starting to leaf out. That's I'm not sure what tree that one is there. That's a Bruce plum right there. All my Methody plums brought it out too early. That's a cherry just starting to put on some blossoms. What is this? I don't remember. Oh, it's a spring satin plum cot. I'm happy to see that blooming. Just get a few of those this year as a first yield. I'd be pretty happy. Another cherry, and I'm seeing the bees start to buzz around. That's another cherry. Another cherry. So there's a little cherry clump right here. This is a plum, just starting to green up. So, one of our mountain ash hybrids right here, Shapova. We'll see if it survives. This is actually Ivan's Bell. Most of the mountain ash crosses I put in died. So anyway, everything's turning green. Look at that pasture. It's amazing to me when I look at this now, because I know that this land when I moved in was just brown. Everything was brown. There were places where I was told by the neighbors, don't bother, nothing will grow. It's been a slow, arduous process, but as you can see, about 2 acres of it is pretty dadgone green, and we're about to go full bore on that last acre over there this year. We'll catch up with you tomorrow on another episode of the Duck Chronicles.